I find peanut butter and jelly sandwiches satanic. I don't really have a reason for it, it's just that's how they feel to me. I'm sorry, did that seem random and have no sort of context or make any sort of sense? Sorry, let me try again. I find dresser drawers that hold clothes satanic. I don't really know why, that's just how it appears to me. Was that equally as nonsensical? Okay, perfect. Then you guys now have the understanding that I have of what Matt Walsh said about anime. And he also went on this tirade for against video games. Now, of course, you guys probably heard about the thequartering versus Matt Walsh stuff yesterday, where they were, disparaging one another over their views. And while I can't say I'm a big fan of thequartering, I do enjoy some of his stuff. I don't like other of his stuff. You guys know that I'm not a big fan of Matt Walsh. In fact, I can't stand Matt Walsh. One of my favorite videos on this channel is me thinking Matt Walsh is an absolute moron, because while we technically agree in principle on certain things, we disagree on a whole lot more and absolutely disagree on the methodology of how to get there. But this isn't going to be me just talking about my feelings on Matt Walsh. I want to actually address what he said and the context going on around it, because you've heard, the big boys out there, you heard thequartering's take, you heard a bunch of other individuals. Now it's time for your boy Leon here to give you his thoughts on all this. But for those that need some context, let's go ahead and take a look at a couple things. So welcome back to Words of Paradise. I'm your host, Leon Idle, and oh my goodness, this is insane. So I feel like we should first go ahead and actually listen to what he said so that you guys know I'm not just making this up.
What's your opinion on anime? It's really popular amongst teens and young adults. I think it's all satanic. I have no argument for it. I have no argument for why it's satanic. It just seems that way to me. All anime to me seems weird, just like bizarre, creepy. And in general, I don't think that adults should be, whether it's anime or any other kind of cartoon, with rare exception, adults really shouldn't be watching cartoons in general, I would say.
Let's leave anime out of this for a moment, and let's just talk about what he said near the end. With rare exception, adults shouldn't be watching cartoons in general. Why? What is it about the medium of animation, which is, hand-drawn art, or sometimes computer-done art? What is it about that adults shouldn't be watching? It is equally as insane to say, with rare exception, adults shouldn't be painting. Leonardo da Vinci, the man that did the Mona Lisa, The Last Supper, which I'm sure is a piece of art that, Christian Boy is very, very happy with here. No, apparently that was children's stuff, because anything artistic, with rare exception, adults shouldn't be doing it. So yeah, apparently the dude hates Leonardo da Vinci. Because, animation and painting, where's the difference? What about several, he's a published author. Now, whether you consider his books art or not, doesn't really matter to me, because I find the act of writing, creating, that is art. But if, animation, if adults shouldn't be watching animation, which is art, why should adults, with exception, why should they write books? So yeah, all of those books you've written, all those super anti-trans books that you've written, Matt Walsh, you shouldn't have written those. That was childish of you to write, because, hey, artistic expression, that's for kiddos. You can make this argument for literally any form of art out there, whether it be paintings, books, music, content creation, which, some people have incredibly artistic content creation. He is a content creator slash, right-wing freak for a living. And again, this isn't me dogging on the right wing in general, by the way. Just want to get that out there. There are several individuals on the right I agree with, and some of Matt Walsh's positions I even agree with. But however, again, his methodology, his delivery, and about half of what he says, I vehemently disagree with. And a lot of it's probably actually down to the delivery, but there's going to be some things like this. Kids are the only ones that should be able to watch cartoons. Why? How does that make any sort of sense? First of all, there are a lot of cartoons out there that are not made for children. The Simpsons, not really made for kids. It is one of the most enduring and iconic television shows of all time, animation or not. Drop me in the middle of, Iraq, and I'm sure if I find some sort of Iraqi with a TV, they're gonna know who, Homer Simpson is, or Bart Simpson. They are IP icons at this point. I don't understand where this idea that, cartoons are for kids is coming from. Adults shouldn't be watching cartoons. You can make the argument that, Family Guy is poisonous to the mind. And sure, you might be able to make an argument. It's one that I would disagree with. Comedy is comedy. This is the type of individual that has said for years, comedians shouldn't be canceled. Comedians should get to, say whatever they want because it's comedy. You shouldn't be out there, people on the left canceling comedians because they told a joke. What is Family Guy, The Simpsons, Futurama, Archer, if not comedy? but in the form of a cartoon. That's what they are. So are those okay for adults to watch? What is your rare exception? Now we're going to go ahead, jump back to anime, because, anime is what the question was about, and he said he found it satanic. It doesn't have a reason why. That is so mind-blowing to me. First of all, I can't stand this Western-centric view that so many individuals have when it comes to anime. As a big anime fan myself, Japan, not exactly a super Christian nation. I highly doubt old Lucifer decided to just pull up on the shores of Japan and infect this entire country. That way they could send their art across the pond and start, infecting all of us white people here in America. Or obviously not just white people, anyone in America. But it's funny, the idea of Asians infecting, people with something. Now that we're all post-COVID, kind of a funny idea. The point is, I don't think that Satan was out there just like, haha, I can't wait to corrupt the youth with anime. I've been watching anime since I was 4 years old. I'm A-okay. But honestly, that's anecdotal. What is satanic about a country that doesn't have a whole lot of Christianity to it making cartoons? Where's the Satanism in that? Show me the Satanism in Pokemon. Like, I know there was a lot of parents in the 90s, some hardcore religious Christians that thought that, Pokemon was satanic. I remember my elementary school banned Yu-Gi-Oh! Because Yu-Gi-Oh! Was the devil. How is a Japanese card game / anime / comic book the devil? It's something that's never actually made sense to me. If you want to talk about people who, go to, satanic meetings and, drink each other's blood, okay, fair enough. There's an argument for that being satanic. Did those people, were they influenced by Yu-Gi-Oh? No, they really weren't. I mean, yeah, you could say water is satanic, because Satanists that do them sacrificial stuff, if they even exist, drink water. So hey, if Satanists do it, it must be satanic. Well, Satanists drink water, they eat food. Satanists take a piss. If you take a piss, well, I guess taking a piss is satanic, because Satanists also take a piss. Where is the line? What makes it satanic? For somebody who, says he's so smart, for someone that acts like they're so well-read and intellectual and thought-provoking, how does this take make any sort of sense? It doesn't. Matt Walsh is a complete moron. I've seen a lot of folk on Twitter say, well, this is why the right wing is losing the culture war, because they denigrate pop culture and culture in general. And yeah, that's absolutely correct. Now, I don't necessarily want the right wing to win the culture war. I also don't want the left wing to win the culture war. But then again, if I had to choose between the lesser of two evils, in the modern day, I'd say I'd probably rather have the right wing win. But what happens if they do win? We go back to the 80s and 90s when heavy metal was considered satanic, when Dungeons and Dragons considered satanic. We're just trading in the cancel culture, eat you alive socialism, Marxism the left is giving us for the right wing version of it if the right wins. I truly think that this is the ultimate catch-22 for nerd culture. But let's go on, let's delve into a bit more of what was said, because this is the initial tweet that got brought up that changed, that made all this happen. Video games are a sacred cow because our country is filled with adults who are obsessed with them. Once again, oh no, adults have a hobby. If you want to say that video games are bad, why can you not say the same about any other hobby? Hunting. If you're a fan of hunting, well, guess what? Hunting is a sacred cow, because you can just go to the store and you can buy meat there where, they were all butchered in a factory on a capitalism assembly line. You can get your meat that way. So no, you don't need to hunt. Hunting, that is a sacred cow. That's the same argument. Some people, you might want to make the argument, well, hunting, you could actually hunt food for yourself, and you could bring it home, and that could be how you survive. And yeah, that's a completely fair argument, but majority of people in the modern 21st century, they are hunting for sport, and they are hunting as a hobby. Most are not hunting in terms of being survivalists. So no, they might go out and they might shoot the deer, and they might cut it up and use everything themselves. That's fine. They have the option to go to the grocery store where, again, you had them cows on an assembly line and you could just have gotten your meat that way. You were using the act of hunting, again, for your own amusement, for your own enjoyment. I'm not anti-hunting, by the way. No, I mean, there's nothing wrong with hunting. I'm just taking something that was very traditionally right-wing and masculine and flipping the script. Video games are the largest entertainment industry in the world. They eclipse Hollywood. They have definitely eclipsed any, literature. And so now you're saying that there's adults who are obsessed with them. Yeah, of course there's, adults obsessed with it. Being obsessed is bad. No one's going to argue that. But being obsessed with anything is bad, not just video games. Frankly, I've seen people obsessed and addicted to meth. I've seen people addicted to video games. And you want me to be entirely honest, they're about equal in how sad and depressing those individuals are. Because I'm telling you, your boy Leon, I witnessed both types of individuals with my own eyes. And frankly, the video game ones are physically grosser to be around. I mean, yeah, the meth people have like the bad teeth and whatnot, but at least they're always moving and whatnot, so they're kind of visually fun to look at, because they're zip, 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 they're all over the place. People who are, addicted to video games, they're just boring sloths. They instead of talking mile a minute, they don't talk at all. It's genuinely sad. Again, you pick your battles. The point is, yeah, people obsessed or addicted to anything is bad, but having a hobby, oh no, because the hobby includes something to do with a fictional world, it's a bad thing. What is video games if not an interactive movie or an interactive book? Are you against movies and books now? I genuinely don't understand. That's why we all pretend insanely that there's nothing wrong or disturbing about a child spending all day killing people in a virtual world. Once again, gross miscategorization of video games in general. Not all video games are for kids. Not all video games are, have any sort of death in them or are about killing. Video games are just a game, like checkers, like chess, like solitaire, like Parcheesi, like Yahtzee, whatever, played through a virtual medium. So obviously he's using a very disingenuous argument here. That being said, he has a video claiming to explain his position, so let's go ahead and take a look at it. Also, before we do that, child spending all day killing people in the virtual world, but here he says the country's filled with adults who are obsessed with them. Okay, where is it fine for adults, but it's bad for children? Like, where is your line? Let's take a look.
Now, part of the reason why people dig up old tweets is that it gives them, or they believe it gives them, a rhetorical advantage, because they can pluck one statement from the past, completely remove it from the broader context and conversation it was a part of, ignore everything else I may have said about that subject at the time to flesh out my views, and instead they can engage with this one statement as if it was made in a void. It's a clever way to make a straw man out of somebody's argument, even while quoting them directly.
He is correct on that. I will give him that. We do see that done all the time. That being said, that is not what's being done here. So let's keep going.
It may be a correct quote, like I did say that, but it's only one part of a larger thought. And the larger thought is lost, leaving only the one single piece that you have isolated.
Well, if they're lost, then I'm sorry, you should do your due diligence to find them if you want to make a rebuttal argument to their argument. If someone pulls one of your tweets and they say, you said this, here's my response to that, then you better have something to say in response to prove them wrong. You should be like, you pulled this out of context. Here's the tweet thread, or here's 5 texts about that larger, broader topic. If you want to talk about and debate people all the time, when you've got all the facts, you've got notes and pages and books, the whole nine, then when someone comes to you with information, if you're going to debate them back, you're going to argue back, pull up the receipts. If it is lost to time, as you're claiming, then no, they're not strawmanning your argument. It's that simple.
I'm aware that non-violent video games exist. However, in that one particular statement 5 years ago, I was specifically talking about violent video games, which also exist. Yes, violent video games are a genre, and I was talking about that genre. Okay? So just because
Oh, no, violent video games are not a genre, by the way. You don't hop on Steam and type in, like, violent video games and it's its own genre. That's not how that works. So, no, violent video games, not a genre. There can be games within genres that have violence, action-adventure games, RPG games, horror games. Those are genres. Action-adventure, RPG, horror, platformer. Those are genres. Those genres might include violence. So, no, violent video games, not a genre. Once again, you're entirely incorrect, but let's continue.
I'm talking about one thing in particular, it doesn't mean that I'm denying that other things also exist. It's just that this is what I'm talking about right now, or what I was talking about 5 years ago. There was much more strawmanning where that came from. Thequartering tweeted, quote, "The right's weird obsession with disavowing video games, anime, and social media is why they will never appeal to most of Gen Z. The base is literally dying off, and most of the voices in the community are actively refusing recruits."
That is not a straw man, by the way. That's not what a straw man is. And also, thequartering is correct here. The right does in fact have a weird obsession with disavowing nerd culture. It absolutely does. I have made videos on this, and people want to come at me all the time like, oh, Leon, why do you only attack the left? Look through my catalog. Look through my videos. I attack the right all the time for this exact thing, and the quartering is calling it out. So yeah, multiple individuals like myself who do attack the left. Oh, we don't like seeing kids get trans or whatnot. Yeah, that's bad. We also call out the right wing. Well, yeah, they wonder why they lose so much. Because they're denying culture. They're denying the impact of culture. There's a reason that these sorts of things are popular. And spoiler alert, Maddie, it ain't Satan. Who you think you are? Dana Carvey? You the church lady?
And who could it have been? Let's see, I don't know. Let me think. Let me knock on Mr. Noggin. Who could trick us into doing that? Could have been Satan.
It's not Satan, my guy. People just like good stories. The West isn't giving it to us, so we're gravitating towards cultures that do, i.e. Japan in this instance.
I do sometimes, I have to admit, get a little bit tired of hearing lectures on effectiveness from people who are far less effective. Like at a certain point, these people need to maybe take a second, realize that maybe you could learn something. Okay, maybe you could learn something.
If you are so effective, if you're so good at this and you're so effective, why did Biden win? And then where was that red wave at the midterm elections? Everyone was calling for a red wave. Republicans were going to take control of everything. Where was that red wave at the midterms? Why did Biden win? Stop talking about how effective you are. Clearly you ain't, or there'd be results. What are the results? Kids still getting trans. People are still chopping their dicks off kids. We're seeing it every day in the news, and you're still throwing a fit about it, but it's still happening. So where is the effect that you were saying that you have, Maddie? Last but not least, we're going to go ahead and look at a couple tweets, specifically this very first one I have here. I argue that we should limit screen time for kids. I consider this to be one of the top 10 least controversial things I've said in my life. Apparently I was wrong, which ironically only proves all the more why my original point was correct. No. You did not argue we limit screen time for kids. I mean, you said it's dangerous that they spend all day playing violent video games and you're tired of society pretending it isn't. All these studies show that violent video games have no effect on children, on violence, gun violence, anything to that effect. Study after study after study has proven that. Now, should we limit screen time for kids? Frankly, yeah, of course. I'm also in favor of that sort of argument, but that's not what you were saying. You were not saying we should limit screen time for kids. You called video games a sacred cow and tried to morally grandstand because of the violence. You weren't over here talking about, this is how to be a good parent. This was your attempt at political moral grandstanding, and now you're trying to spin it in a positive light. So don't say that you were arguing that we should limit screen time for kids. You were trying to appeal to a base of ultra-conservatives that think that, oh my god, Grand Theft Auto is the root of all evil, when it's just some ones and zeros in a freaking computer and some pixels on a screen. Here we have another one, his response to the quartering. I'm used to being strawman, of course, but people seem to especially insistent on completely missing my point about video games and screen time for kids. I'm tired of him saying for kids. His initial sentence in that tweet was about adults. He called it a sacred cow because adults are obsessed with video games. So stop trying to make this about kids. You openly said adults in that tweet. That's what you led with. So stop, dude. Art is art. You don't have to like anime. You don't have to like video games. You don't have to let your kids participate in those. That's your choice as a parent. But what you are trying to do is the same level of fascism that you claim the left does with culture. You're just trying to do it in a way that seems more intellectual, like you're giving a choice. But really, you're saying, yeah, you have a choice. If you don't think my way, I mean, you're completely stupid and also possibly going to hell because, that stuff is satanic. If not, you're at least a complete retard. Like, that's what you're doing. You're giving the illusion of choice when, no, if you had it your way, this stuff would be gone. I guarantee you don't let your kids watch Harry Potter, if I had to take a guess, because, oh no, the fiction work of a British woman in the 90s is somehow gonna send them to hell. Dude, it's a book. It is fiction. Scientifically speaking, 90% of what's in the Bible is fiction. It's stories. Now, by all means, could Christianity be true? Absolutely. But humans embellish stories to make them better stories all the time. That's why when we see movies that are based on a true story, like 90% of it is, dramatized and only 10% of it's fact. The Bible probably the exact same. We all know it didn't rain for 40 days and 40 nights and kill everyone but a single family. The human race just wouldn't have continued if that happened. Was there a period of a great flood? Probably. I genuinely believe there was, because almost every major religion in the world has some version of the Great Flood story. So there probably was a cataclysmic flood. Did it kill everyone except, one guy, one family? A 900-year-old drunk at that, to quote Joe Rogan? No, that part of the story, clearly a dramatized fiction part of the story. How's that any different than Harry Potter? Because it's written in some magic book? I don't see it. And I know a lot of this has come off as me, denigrating the right and Christians and things like that. That's not the case at all. I don't want anyone who is a Christian or is right-wing or anything watching this video to think that I'm attacking you. That's not the case. I'm attacking Matt Walsh specifically. I think this is a complete bogus joke of multiple statements and videos. And again, this is why the left keeps winning the culture war, because we got people who are somewhat influential on the right side of things, right as in right wing, not necessarily correct, even though I do think a lot of what they're doing is correct, infighting and not giving a damn about culture. Yeah, with the left, they might be retarded, but they are united in those retarded views. So of course they're going to win, because as dumb as it is, it's a united front. They got strength in numbers, whereas you guys on the right wing, you're sitting here doing all this infighting because some of you are like, yeah, I want lower taxes and for kids to not be trans, but on my downtime, I'd like to play video games so I'm not fighting for it. And you got other people on the right saying, what, you want to play video games? You're going straight to hell. No get out of jail free Monopoly card for that, especially if you're playing Monopoly on a PlayStation 4. But yeah, those are my thoughts on this. I want to know yours in the comments below, or you can let me know on Twitter, where you can find me at BoltTheWord. And please do subscribe. We are over that 850 subscriber hump. I cannot believe it. We're so close to 1,000, so thank you so much. I would love a subscription. I can only do this because of you. I truly do appreciate it. I am a nerdy news channel. I do nerdy news every day. Obviously not always from such a political lens, but I do love looking through the political lens of nerd culture, whether it be about Magic the Gathering, Dungeons and Dragons, anime, video games, you name it. It's all here in the nerdosphere, and this has been Words of Paradise.